I'm Jane Copier, and you're listening to Happy in the Middle, a podcast for Christian women who want to make the second half of life the best half. This podcast is all about helping women to reignite their spark and step into their divine power in order to create deep and connected relationships and also find that fulfillment and satisfaction they crave. So, if you're ready to grow, join me and learn how you too can overcome guilt, resentment, disappointment, and enjoy the fruits of creating a life well lived. Let's go. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Can you believe it's already the middle of January? I don't know where the time goes, seriously. My husband and I just got back from a really fun trip to the Western Caribbean. It was so much fun. We went with our good friends, Carl and Jill, and we laughed our heads off. We had so much fun with some of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Shout out to you, Jill. She's been on my podcast before, so you probably know her a little bit. But oh my heck, we had so much fun. We swam in the ocean with all the creatures. Crazy story. I got bit by a green moray eel, which I thought was fabulous because I don't know who can say that. Who can say they got bit by an eel? We were swimming in Belize with the sharks and the rays, and we were doing some snorkeling, and they were just acting really weird. There were usually eels hide down in the rocks, and it's hard to spot them. But this day, we saw like 4 of these green moray eels out in the water, out of their little area, and they were a little bit aggressive. So I'm swimming along, and I had seen our little guide kind of backing away from one that was coming at him, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I was just watching, and I lost track of it. I'd just been swimming along, and then I was at the top of the water. I wasn't even down, like I'm snorkeling. I'm not even scuba diving, and anyway, I just feel this sharp sting on my right wrist, and I look over because I thought maybe I hit some coral or something, but that felt weird because I wasn't that close. So anyway, I looked to my right side, and there was this eel right in my face. So I swam away as fast as I could, and my husband was trying to kick it off with his flipper. And anyway, quite the story. It was fun. It really did not hurt me terribly. I reacted really fast. And so it was just, it punctured the skin a little bit, but it didn't get to chomp down on my hand. So that was good news. And we just had a really, really fun trip. I'm telling you, there's nothing more fun than having fun with your spouse. It's such a good practice to plan for fun, to enjoy each other, to celebrate life together, to be together, to make memories together. If you haven't done that in a while, I highly recommend that you make some plans. Even if it's not a big trip, how are you celebrating your life? How are you celebrating each day? I'm really glad you're here today because today's topic is so universal. If you've ever experienced ongoing conflict with someone, you've likely had the thought at some point, and for all of you who had been married for lots of years, it's 37 for us, holy cow. But you've probably thought at some point when the same old argument arises, like, how are we still arguing about this? Or why does this same issue keep coming back no matter how many times we talk about it? This is a normal occurrence. It actually happened for me and my husband over Christmas again. And so I'm right in the trenches with you guys doing this work, but it's something that because this is such a universal theme and something that comes up for so many people, I really wanted to talk about it on the podcast today. This is a normal occurrence, but it's not one that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Your relationship is not doomed, and I want to help you figure out how to overcome it. This doesn't happen because you're not trying hard enough. That's not it, right? So today I'm going to show you what's happening in your brain, what's happening in your body, and why those same arguments repeat. And then more importantly, how to finally interrupt the cycle. This will give you the tools that you need to move past this particular problem and finally find the resolution that will stick. Intimate relationships really require us to grow. They just do. Anytime we bring 2 different souls together, there will be different opinions, there will be different ideas, different preferences, and those differences can add frustration. They can make us feel dysregulated. This work is never done. It's not like you can solve one conflict and then never have conflict again. It's just knowing that these things are going to come up. and learning the tools to deal with it when they do. So, knowing how to work through the regression and bring our honest selves without contempt is just a crucial skill to develop. And I want to help you do that. No matter how much work we do, we're always going to encounter new challenges. So, even if you solve an old challenge, you will have another one that arrives to push you to grow again and again and again. This is how it's supposed to be. God really wants us to be creators, not just to sit in our lazy boy until we expire, right? He knows that there is joy in creation, and creating beautiful relationships is so vital to our life experience and the amount of joy that we will be able to feel. It is the highest and best work that you can do. But that growth and creation requires some getting our hands dirty. It requires getting to work and pushing ourselves to mature and to grow up together in our relationship. So, if you think about your own relationship, I have no doubt you can probably identify some of your own patterns of regression. So, think for yourself about those times when you feel unable to regulate or hold on to yourself emotionally. What are those patterns for you? Most recurring arguments fall into a few familiar categories, right? So, money and budgeting is one. Who decides what and where and how we spend our money? Time and how we spend it. What activities do we invest our time in? That's another one. Parenting and discipline. Do you share the same ideas around this, or does it create division between the two of you? That was one of the biggest struggles my husband and I had. We came from such different circumstances growing up. We had totally different ideas about how to discipline the kids. It was a real struggle. Household responsibilities. Who does what? Does it feel balanced and fair? Do you feel equally yoked, or is there resentment? Do you feel like you do too much? Emotional availability. Does one of you push for more intimacy than feels comfortable for your partner? Are you able to be completely honest and reveal your mind and your thoughts without rocking the boat or upsetting the apple cart? Such a good question. Another topic might be feeling unseen or unsupported, right? Do you feel free to grow as an individual? Do you feel like you have your partner's blessing? Or do you feel a codependent tendency to kind of minimize yourself or accommodate your partner's discomfort? The details change, and perhaps you've experienced conflict in many of these categories. But the one thing that doesn't change is the feeling. That is the clue. That's where the problem lies and why we keep falling back into old patterns. And that's what we're going to help you work on today. It's super important to understand that you don't keep arguing because the issue hasn't been resolved. Hear me when I say this. It's important to understand that you don't keep arguing because the issue hasn't been resolved. You keep arguing because the thought creating the emotional charge hasn't changed. The thought hasn't changed. That's where the self-coaching model helps us to see what's actually happening. I want to walk you through an exercise so that you can experience the power of perspective that this can bring. So if you're with me, join in. I really want you to take this and use it. It's free coaching, and I'm so happy to provide it for you. But I want you to think of your own recurring pattern. What are your biggest fights about? Think carefully for a moment about the feeling that you have when you experience this. Okay. In one word, can you name it? Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it judgment? Is it disgust? Is it disappointment? There are a million different emotions that you might feel, but pick the one that feels the strongest. And remember that this is not a sentence. I know a lot of my clients will be like, well, I feel like he does this thing and then it bothers me and blah, 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 blah. It's not a sentence. This is just a one-word feeling. What is the strongest feeling? Can you identify it? Sometimes there are secondary emotions that we'll have after we feel hurt. Then we'll have anger and disgust and all those other things. Stick with the primary emotion. Okay. Identify the feeling in one word. This is really important. Now, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know a little bit about the self-coaching model, but I'll review it quickly for those of you who are new to me. The self-coaching model is a way of looking at why things happen the way that they do, why we create what we do, how that comes about. And the model has 5 parts. So I want you to think of 5 rows from top to bottom. At the top, we have circumstances. These are just the facts, the things that happen, things that are absolute facts that no one could disagree with. Below the circumstance, we have the thought. And the thought is what we think about the circumstance. It's where we assign meaning to what happened. So this is where the story and all the drama lives in your brain. Okay. We have lots and lots of thoughts, tons of thoughts every day, probably 80,000 or more. So when you think thoughts, when something happens, when you have facts happen in your life, what is the thought you think about it? It's important to identify that thought because what you think creates your feelings. When you think a thought, 2 neurons connect in your brain and release a chemical reaction that is emotion. Okay. So when we have a feeling, that's what we feel when we think the thought about our circumstance. Feelings are important because feelings are what drive our actions. That's the next line down, our action line. And the action line is what we say, what we do, what we think when we're driven by that emotion, by that feeling, that one-word feeling. And it's important to know and look at our actions because those actions are what create our results. The result line is number 5. And the result is what we create through the actions that are caused by the feeling that we are experiencing. So let's walk through this slowly with a real life example. And I want you to plug in your own details. Okay. So think about your circumstance. Remember, these are neutral facts. They're things that just happen. And this is what happened without your interpretation, right? It's just the facts. So for instance, maybe your spouse came home 1/2 hour later than he said he would. That would be a circumstance. Or your adult child didn't call for 2 full weeks. Okay. Even the full is probably a little drama in there. So you could just trim that down a little bit. My adult child did not call for 2 weeks. Okay. Notice how full is a thought. Because for some people, 2 weeks isn't a long time. It's no big deal, right? But when you add drama or story to the circumstance, it creates more inflammation. Okay. Another one might be the same chore hasn't been done again. Maybe he forgot to take out the garbage again, or whatever it is, something that's bothering you. But it's really just a fact. This is just data, right? These are simple facts. There's no meaning yet until we attach a thought, till we have a thought about it. So what are the facts of your own situation? And keep all the drama and the story out of it. Just get very crystal clear, boil it down to the facts. Okay, the next line is the thought. And this is where everything starts. Here is where the loop and the pattern begins and why it keeps coming back over and over and over again. Common thoughts sound like, I don't matter. I guess I don't matter. Something like that, right? Or I can't believe he's so selfish. Or I can't believe she's so selfish. Or they should know by now. How do they not know by now? Right? All the frustration. Can you feel the emotion that comes with these words? Maybe a thought like, I don't come first. I'm not a priority to him or to her, right? These thoughts feel true, and your brain will insist that they are true, but they're still thoughts. And when the same thought shows up again and again, the same argument will follow again and again. So as you're considering your own circumstance, what is your thought about it? Write that thought in one sentence. Write it down in the thought line so you can see it really clearly. Okay. Once you've got your thought, the next is the feeling line. This is the emotional fuel. Okay. So your thought creates a feeling. What feeling is it for you? And again, we want to keep it to one word. Is it resentful? Is it hurt? Is it angry, unseen, defensive, ticked? Sometimes I'm ticked. Yes. I mean, pick any word as long as it's really, really true for you and it's the strongest emotion. This is the feeling that actually drives the argument, not the circumstance. Do you see what I'm saying? You have a thought, it creates an emotion, and then we act on that emotion. and we involve ourselves in an argument. Okay. Two people can experience the very same event and completely feel different things depending on the thought they have about it. Now, the action line. This is how we show up, right? When we are feeling that feeling. So consider, what do you do when you feel this way? What do you think? What do you stop doing that you would normally do? From that feeling, how do you react? Sometimes we criticize, sometimes we shut down. Maybe we bring up the past and provide evidence for our argument. Maybe you, like me, sometimes you get sarcastic. Do you explode or go silent, give the silent treatment, or show up with lots of heat and anger? Do you ruminate about all the other ways that your partner's failing you or causing you stress, right? When we ruminate, we create a snowball of more negative emotions because what we're doing is we're taking that original negative thought and we're attaching others that also carry emotion. And so we just build this snowball of misery. Okay. Do you withhold your love and affection? Do you withhold your friendship when you normally wouldn't? These are all really good questions to help you figure out what your action line looks like. This action line is the part we usually try to fix, right? When we have a problem, this is usually where we want the person that we're arguing with to change. But behavior is a downstream result from the thought. And if we don't fix this at the thought line, it will keep knocking on the door over and over again. Our actions create our results. This is why it keeps repeating, right? So the result is usually that there's not a real resolution. Maybe there's more distance. Maybe we push it aside. And so then the same argument rears its ugly head again next week or next year, right? And this happens because that original thought stayed untouched. So here's why talking it out doesn't fix it. Like I said earlier, most couples will try to resolve arguments at the action level. Like, next time, just tell me this, or I'll try harder, right? Let's communicate better. Or if you just say it in a different way, or if you would react in a different way, then we can fix this. But if that underlying thought is still, I'm not important, no amount of conversation is going to soothe that wound. That's why it feels like you've talked about it 100 times. You have, just not at the level that creates change. We have to address the thought. So here's how to interrupt the cycle. And this is where the work comes. You have to be willing to do this work, my friends. Don't be lazy in your life about this. Don't just think you've got it. Like, really put it pen to paper and look at your model and see how it looks. Okay. The first step is to identify the repeating thought. What is that thought that keeps happening, that keeps coming up for you? All right. Write that down in the T line. Look at it. Then I want you to ask yourself, why do I hang on to this thought? What do I make it mean when this happens? What story do I tell myself every time this happens, and why? And by the way, your brain will insist that it's all true. Just notice that and be really curious about your assumptions. Okay. We're just gaining awareness here. Ask yourself, is this a thought I want to keep? Or do I want to let it go and choose another healthier one that makes me feel steadier and happier? The key is that you have to be honest. There is no shame in regress thinking. We all do it. But it's only a problem if we're not willing to be aware of it, right? So just be interested in your brain. When I first was learning to do this work, I have such a circus going on in my head most of the time that I was just like, wow, brain, so fascinating that you jumped to that conclusion. So interesting, right? I just observed it and watched all the nonsense running through my mind and was like so fascinated. So just be interested, be fascinated, be curious about your brain. Okay, once you've done that, the second step is to feel the feeling without acting. Now, what I mean is you're not going to react. So we're pausing, okay? So let's say you're feeling disappointment. The key here is to pause. without reacting, without crying, without throwing a fit, none of those things in our action line. We're just going to pause, breathe. We're going to invite the feeling to stay in our body without performing it. Okay? Without taking action on it. We're going to take time to process it. If you want to learn how to process, go all the way back to my episode number 1 that talks about how to process negative emotion. That's a really helpful episode. And take the time to listen to that one too. But process that emotion. Stop pushing it away. Stop trying to not feel it. Allow it to be in your body. Breathe into it. Send it some love. Send it some acceptance. Send it, honestly, some gratitude for helping you to have contrast in your life, to have that full human experience. This alone changes your dynamic. Don't skip this step. Emotions are stored in the body, and if you don't allow them, you keep shoving them away and pushing them down, they will stay there and they will keep knocking at the door, asking for your attention. And this is why they resurface so very quickly. Once you've been able to sit with your emotion, to process, to regulate yourself, then you're ready to move on to step number 3. And step number 3 is the process of kind of gently questioning your thought. We want to leave all the judgment out here. Just be really curious. Okay. Some of the questions that I like are, is this the only possible explanation? Right? I'm really directing my brain to find what else might be true. Is this thought helping me to show up as the woman I want to be, as the man I want to be? What else could be true here? What else is true here? What else do I have evidence for? And what is my brain focusing on? And is there more to the story? Right? You're not gaslighting yourself. I want to be really clear about this. This is not just switching a thought. This is actually just analyzing a thought and noticing, is it not as true as my lower brain is insisting that it is? What you're doing when you question your thought is you're expanding your perspective. And that is something every human being needs, especially in our world today. We all need to be able to expand our perspective. As you do this, you're going to notice that there is more. When you give your brain that task of finding what else might be possible, it will do just that. And you might be surprised as you watch your certainty and your assumptions sort of dissolve. You bring regulation to the thought. You bring more truth to the thought. I think we try to put things in boxes, black and white, totally true or untrue. And most of the time, things live in the middle. What's another option here? Okay, so once you feel like you've done that, the final step in this process is to choose a thought that creates a shift and allows you to feel connection again. Okay, again, we're not choosing a fake positive thought. Your brain will just reject that. But rather, I want you to choose one that is steadier, that's truer, that isn't so black and white or so inflamed. Okay, let me give you just a few examples. One might be, I can advocate for myself without attacking my partner. You're just inviting yourself to speak up without a lot of contempt. Okay. Another might be, I can feel disappointed without making this mean that I'm not loved. Another one might be, I can stay grounded even when my partner is dysregulated. One of my favorite thoughts when my husband is upset and I don't want to borrow his emotion, I don't want to drop into that codependent tendency, is my husband is feeling upset because of the sentences in his head. That thought makes me drop into compassion because I know how it feels to have a circus going on in your head. I know how it is to have an unmanaged mind. And then I just really feel for him when he's going through that too. And I don't have to join in or respond or react to his dysregulation. So if you can find a new thought that can help you get to that place where you can slow everything down, see the bigger picture, and not just the millisecond of the triggering event, then you'll be able to change your communication. You'll be able to speak from a place of desire to connect rather than accusing. You can change the entire tone of your interaction because you're showing up in a more mature and a more regulated way. And the courage that you show when you do this invites the other party involved to also regulate and do the same. It makes it a much safer place for them to do that. Most recurring arguments are not about the other person. They're about the thought and the feeling that's still alive within you. But my friends, here's the best part about thoughts. You do not have to believe everything you think. You are not your thoughts, and your thoughts are not always facts. In fact, mostly they are not facts. So when you see your old resurfacing patterns arise, and they will, remember that they're just invitations. Okay, they're invitations to heal your old story. They're invitations to help you build a little self-trust if you will take the time to slow everything down and go through this process. It will help you. There are invitations to help you learn emotional regulation. This is such an important skill. And there are also invitations to help you create more intimacy through stepping in toward your partner instead of hiding issues or brushing them under the rug. It just doesn't work, and they will keep banging on that door and asking for your attention until they're addressed. Doing this work is grown-up love, and it's learnable. I can't even tell you how learning these skills has blessed my life. I remember how difficult it was at first. I remember how much courage it took and how uncomfortable it was to tell the truth and to try to regulate myself in conflict. It isn't easy, but as you do it and as you try, even if you don't do it perfectly, just the trying of it makes you have more self-trust. It makes you believe in your ability to get this eventually, right? Don't think you have to be perfect at it at first. It's okay if you fail. It's not a big deal, but don't give up. Use this process over and over as many times as you need until you can shift that pattern for yourself. So my friend, if you're stuck in a loop right now, I really want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is working exactly the way it was built. That's the great news, right? Because now you know the game. You know that your lower brain will fight to keep you stuck. And you have a choice. Do I let it win or do I not? And I want you to know you have more power and influence over your thinking than you know. All it takes is more awareness and a willingness to work through your thoughts. So give it a try. Start with your new thought. Practice it. Repeat it over and over until you build a new neural pathway that is stronger than the old thought. And I promise you, next time you're faced with the same circumstance, when that old pattern comes up again, the argument will follow a different path. It may not be completely resolved, but you will not go to the depth of pain and suffering that you have experienced before. And it will help you move forward. And again, you just wash and rinse and use this process over and over again. Okay, my friends, I hope this is helpful. Thank you for being here. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye now. Hey, if you are ready to get unstuck and make your midlife amazing, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And I want to invite you to join my Empty Nest Academy, where you will learn how to transform your mind, your relationships, and your life. Come free yourself of regret and disappointment and be so much happier. Listen, sis, we've got one shot at this big, beautiful life. Let's make it amazing. Go to janecopier.com, that's JaneCopier.com, and sign up today. And if you're not sure what's right for you, book a free consultation with me and we'll talk it over together. And we'll make sure to get you on the path that serves you the best. See you inside.